All right, guys, welcome into the Kodiak Broncos podcast. And today I'm here to talk about four guys who I just do not want the Broncos to take at pick number 20. But before we get into it, I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You always wait till the end. Hopefully, I'll have read it. And yeah, I'm making a lot more YouTube shorts now, so let me know your feedback on those as well. So before I talk about any of this, I just want to say every player has a price in a certain area where I'd be fine taking them. And just because I don't like somebody at 20, it doesn't mean I wouldn't be fine with them later on. But these are just four guys who I don't think make sense for our team, for our direction, to maximize our roster going into the 2025 season and maximize our resources in the draft and build us the best 53-man roster possible week 1 of 2025. So I'm going to begin this with Luther Burden, and I know that this is going to be eye-popping to a lot of people, but hear me out. I do not dislike Burden as a prospect, but first of all, he's too gadgety for us to take in the first round. I see a lot of similarities to Kadarius Toney in his game, and that's not me to say that Luther Burden's bad like Kadarius Toney or anything like that, but stylistically, I see a lot of the red flags I saw in Kadarius Toney that I see in Luther Burden as well. But production-wise, it's nowhere near as bad, so don't get anything twisted. But he just doesn't make sense to me, okay? He just doesn't make sense to me because we already have a good Debo role guy on our team, and a lot of people swear that Luther Burden can play downfield and he can run go routes, but ultimately we already have that. We already have that on our team. And I understand the argument of we already have that isn't that good, but we already have a guy that does that well. So that's my main thing. We already have a guy who can play the Diet Debo role pretty well in Marvin Mims. And Marvin Mims is clearly a mainstay on this team. He's clearly a dude who we hope can be around for a while. He's taken a step, and ultimately he's a core dude now, and we can only hope that he can take an even further step in the 2025 season. And also, Luther Burden was not even the most productive wide receiver on the Missouri Tigers in 2024. Theo Weiss, who's a projected 6th, 7th round guy, actually ended up outproducing Luther Burden. And, that requires more context because, Brady Cook, he was an absolutely horrible quarterback. But still, that's something that we got to, look at and ignore or can't ignore, especially because I have it in my last bullet point that only 14% of his targets were between 10 and 19 yards downfield, and 43% of his touches were manufactured. That's like screens, jet sweeps, and stuff like that. And there were also a handful of times where he got a downright stupid 15-yard penalty. I didn't start paying attention to that until I noticed that with Dallas Turner. If you guys remember him last year when he was in consideration for our pick. I don't remember. That was like the first guy I flagged for something like that. And it tracked because Dallas Turner looked like an enormous process miss for the Vikings at this year. But yeah, once again, this is something that I could talk myself into, but I think that there's other areas that we can go if we want to go wide receiver in the first round. Uh, Second, Gray Zabel. So I don't disagree with the process of taking an offensive lineman as a developmental piece for Zach Strief, and at number 20 just would not be my favorite considering all the other needs on our team. I would rather go interior defensive line if we were to go trenches in the first round. I'd rather go tight end. I'd rather literally go running back. I'd rather go, just a handful of other areas rather than kicking the tires on a guy like Gray Zabel. And once again, I do think that we do need something in the event that we move on from Powers in the 2026 season. The flexibility of that would be fantastic. We already have some decent developmental swing tackles between Parrott and Palczewski. So, yeah, now we just got to look to the inside of the offensive line. And once again, I trust this coaching staff with whatever they want to do. And I would talk myself into it if it happened. And I get it because Gray Zabel can literally play everywhere on the offensive line. And he does a lot of his best work as an interior guy. And we have the most questions at the interior now, even though Bowles and McGlinchey are aging. I feel like we're fine there, at least for the time being. I'd still be underwhelmed, don't get me wrong, if we were to do this at number 20. But hey, he's a good player. He's a really good player. I really like his anchor. I really like his fluidity. He moves really, really well for a guy his size. So yeah, once again, good player, just not for us, I don't think. And I do think that he will go higher than our pick because there always seems to be an interior offensive line guy that goes in like the teens that nobody's expecting every single year. And I think that Zabel kind of fits that mold for this year's NFL draft as well. Third, Walter Nolan. So I feel like this guy's middle name should be character concerns. And the reason I say that is because you can't bring up his name without people talking about character concerns. Now, this is pretty vague, even with him being in the college football landscape, and even with him, transferring around. He was the number 2 recruit in the country, only behind Travis Hunter in 2022, I believe was his recruiting class. But a lot of people, even when he wanted to transfer from Texas A&M, were talking about his character concerns. So that's really, really vague to us because, I look it up and I just can't find anything. Like, I'm on football forums and they're just like, well, he has character concerns, and they don't really elaborate based on that. So I don't know. I'm not really tapped into the SEC. So if you are, you probably know a lot better than I do. Maybe it's like something with his effort. Um, what I've noticed about watching his interviews is that he doesn't really smile, and I don't know. I can feel, yeah, I don't know. Um, Basically, talking about him as a player now, he has rare explosiveness at his size. He's 6'4", 300 plus, and you can't teach that. You literally cannot teach some of his athletic gifts that he has. But I really don't think he has the nasty shed ability like the other first round mocked interior defensive line do. I think Kenneth Grant and Derek Harmon are just way better than him right now. And Walter Nolan, he just seems like a guy who drops to the Philadelphia Eagles at number 32. And, you know, it just seems like it's what's going to happen at this point. Right now, I think Walter Nolan is a better athlete than a football player because he relies on his athleticism to win against interior offensive lines, and he does so in a fantastic way. Like, some of the reps, he just absolutely makes offensive linemen look foolish. But I can't, in good faith, put him over Grant or Harmon. I think both guys would just be better, especially because Harmon is 310, and he has 10 pounds on Nolan, so I think that he offers a much better pass rush than Nolan as well. Kenneth Grant, I think, stylistically fits our depth chart better than a guy like Nolan does. So, yeah. Once again, good player, just not really about it for us at number 20. Uh, Number 4, Jalen Walker. So, granted, I do think that we will get bailed out because Carolina at number 8 seems to be the heavily mocked team for him. But if they pass on him, Carolina has a tendency to do some really weird things in the draft. So if a team trades up 4 to number 8 and the Panthers drop back, then I don't know. I could see Jalen Walker falling because I think they're the only team that I've heard literally have any sort of buzz on Jalen Walker. But this coaching staff has done an amazing job. Don't get me wrong, but they have not earned the right for this pick. They have not earned the right to kick the tires on another versatile defensive weapon. Because Vance Joseph, we've seen him do it with Isaiah Simmons. We've seen him do it with Zaven Collins. We've seen him do it here with Drew Sanders. And the results have not been great for any of those guys. And a versatile / hybrid player, I'm just not really of the belief that that really works in the NFL. Like, oh, he doesn't really have the instincts to play linebacker well. He doesn't really have the top tier athleticism to play edge. And that's not me saying that Walker doesn't really have those traits, because he does have the top tier athleticism. Like, he won the Buckus Award for a reason last year. But once again, I just don't think that archetype tracks in the modern NFL. I think you're taking a huge risk. And are you really relying on defensive coordinators in the top 10 to develop this dude? I mean, is Evero still there? I mean, maybe he can. Who knows? But regardless, Walker is more athletic than other guys who have been in this role. It's just not really a good idea. I'm just not, philosophically, I'm just not about it. And he seems like a shoo-in for Carolina to replace Thomas Davis. Like, they're talking about him to the extent that they talked about Xavier Legette last year. So, yeah. Once again, I'm just not taking him. Like, even if he falls to us at our pick, I just don't really see it. He'd be a nice partner for Dre Greenlaw, don't get me wrong, and I do think that with a developed mind like Dre Greenlaw, pairing another guy like Jalen Walker, who absolutely plays with his hair on fire next to him, that'd be pretty cool. But once again, it's just something that I don't think makes sense for us in the first round. So that basically does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Bye. Salute.